Hi, my name is Mackenzie Foy. I play Jo Green in Disney Plus's Black Beauty, and I am incredibly excited to be reading the winning story in the high school category for the Wild Beauty Foundation's second annual creative writing contest. The theme this year is Connection and Wild Horses. This story is called Light of the Sky and was written by 16-year-old Jaden Chang from Unionville, Ontario. Light of the Sky by Jaden Chang. The wearied, dark brown eyes of a dappled gray mare gazed at the wooden bars before her. She shivered as autumn's breeze was waving its goodbye, making way for cutthroat winter to take its seat. It guided her attention to the opposite paddock. An unfamiliar spirit in the midst of it all warmed the cold night like a golden ember in a coal stove. The mare's ears perked up. An energy full of spirit was young, but carried the years of 1,000 horses within. By the edge of the fence stood a little filly, who looked woefully up at the glowing crescent moon. Caressed by the wind, the filly turned her gaze to meet the mare's. The breeze swept through her mane and rustled across the mare's aloft ears, as if the stars had looked kindly upon these two souls, and connected them for eternity. Flaming locks of crimson and scarlet shot out of the ground. Jumping lightning bug sparks sizzled in mud puddles surrounding fearful hooves. The dusty air was filled with thick, black smoke. With each fervent roar, the fire proclaimed its ferocity to all the inhabitants of the desert night. The gate that stood tall and unwilling for months gave way to the blaze, slowly collapsing to its side. This was my one and only chance. I braced myself to jump over the gate. I could see it. Freedom. Just on the other side. But the gap between seemed like an impossible chasm to get across. The flames grew and I ducked down. All my senses were engulfed by the fire's yelled destruction and sharp burning smell. Horses galloped all around and collided into me, and I shrunk with fear. The cold grunts of humans cut through the crackling flames, lassos in their hands. They came running in my direction. I knew I had to jump now, or the chance to escape would leave just as quickly as it had come. The fire was just too powerful, and my weak body couldn't conquer the task. All of a sudden, a mare appeared beside me. "Come on, we have to go," she urged. I just can't. Yes, you can do this. It's just like jumping over the sagebrush. Trust me. Okay, I said I do. And for some odd reason, I did trust her. Even though I'd never talked to this horse in my life, I felt as if I was supposed to meet her. "On my count," she said, grabbing hold of my gaze. 1. I took a step back, then another. 2. The mare nodded reassuringly. I let out all my hesitations. I exhaled. 3. I galloped forward at top speed, closed my eyes, and leaped. My heart lurched towards the front of my chest as I stretched over the molten mess below. Then, I felt sand beneath my hooves. I had cleared the jump. I glanced over to see the mare still beside me, an exuberant look on her face. Reality made its way back to me. The crack of a whip echoed in the air. 2 men were gaining on us, approaching from the left. We ran as fast as our legs could take us, emerging out of the black cloud of smoke and returning to the land that I love. "This way," the mare exclaimed, veering right and picking up speed. The humans yelled furiously, but they were no match for us on their 2 skinny legs. The fire they had inadvertently started with one of their little paper sticks had now granted us our liberation. We galloped across the flat brown-green range until reaching the safety of the pines. I learned the mare's name was Thea. She led us to the forest, interlacing between the rough underbrush and patchy trees as we ascended the hills. "Just a little further," Thea would huff. Heat from the fire now far away. I grew more cold and tired with each passing minute. I wasn't sure where we were going, or why we were still moving. All I wanted was to rest my aching body. There came moments I thought to go my own way and separate from Thea. But each time, something kept me from leaving her side. I pushed myself to keep going. If not for myself, then for the little filly now in my care. When we finally reached the freshwater stream, Celine's eyes grew wide, and she drank wildly. And after she had gotten her fill, I gratefully lowered my neck and let the sweet, cool water cover my muzzle, washing my leathery tongue that hadn't tasted clean water in weeks. And I knew Celine had had a long day, but we needed to get upstream to where the water ran slow enough for us to cross. It was my duty now to protect this foal who had overcome great adversity. I made the decision in the fire and vowed to follow through. My lead mare instincts kicked in, and I assumed a role that I hadn't held in years. Dawn broke across the high desert region of northeastern California. The sun lazily crept out from its hiding place under the horizon, its beams of light illuminating the landscape. Golden rays danced through the tree branches and refracted off mosaic boulders. I had called this land my home for as long as I could remember. In my youth, I was filled with wonderment for the beautiful earth I could explore and the sights beholden to me. And as I grew older, I established a connection with the land. I searched for its bounties and never took more than needed. In return, I always said thank you and treated it with respect. We began to learn each other's tendencies. I grew a knack for knowing the best grasses to eat that didn't cause a stomachache, the types of shady groves that cougars like to lurk in, and the battered paths that led hidden to shelter. When I became a mother, I experienced the giving of unconditional love for my children. On the day of our separation, we were swooped up and collected like meaningless objects and destined to never see each other again. For the months I stood in captivity, I never thought that I could experience love again. Until now. After resting for the night, it was time to get moving, so I nuzzled Celine's bathed blade forehead. Wake up, sleepyhead. Celine grunted, but her eyelids didn't budge. Let's go, little one, I said. She fluttered awake and let out a reluctant nicker. It's too early. I laughed. Don't you know the old saying, the early bird catches the worm? Go and have a drink of water, and we'll be on our way. Celine wrinkled her nostrils, a sign of annoyance, but did as I asked. There was a certain determination in her, a hard exterior that must have gotten her through tough times. She was no doubt resilient, I thought. Where are we going? Celine asked as she trotted back from the stream. Deeper inland. Those men might come back looking for us, and we're too close for comfort, in my opinion. We started along the wearied path that was sprinkled with soft blanket of yellow and brown leaves. The crisp air sharply awakened my nostrils, and the cool breeze flowing through my mane, although chilly, could not take away from the greatest feeling, that was freedom. Do you know these parts well? Celine asked. Like the back of my hoof. So you've lived here your whole life? You know, like before? Yes, I said, before she had to go on. I've roamed this land inside and out since I was a filly. And how about you? Where did you live? Don't exactly remember, she said casually. Not too far from where we were held. The dam I heard was stampeded there. We ran for nearly half an hour. Celine slowed to a walk. Earlier that morning, my sister and I were bickering about something I no longer remember. Our mother was warning us to quiet down. Something sinister was stirring nearby. It wasn't until I first caught sight of the humans that I knew that my mother was right. We were all placed in different pens, and I watched as one by one some of the horses were forced into a moving contraption with silver bars. As they were loaded and rode off into the distance, I heard my mother's cry echo through the desert air. She said in a near whisper. My heart shattered for the young filly. I tried to offer her any sense of comfort that I could. I tried to forget about that day too. I was also separated from my family. When I realized there was no way I could protect them or escape on my own, I shrank. I wasn't a lead mare anymore, and that shook me to the core. But I knew, somehow, in some way, that I would be free and wild again, just like we were meant to be. And look where we are now. I'm sure glad we're not stuck in that place anymore. You know, I think it's very silly how a human operates. They may choose to live in tiny boxes and confine themselves indoors, but I don't understand why they would want that for us, too, I said, trying to lighten up the mood. She smiled for this first time since we've met. I don't understand that either, she remarked. There's nothing I wanted more than to run across the open land, unchained, with the wind carrying the beat of my strides and the swish of my tail, the horizon disappearing as if I was galloping into the skies. I yearned to be free for so long, and now that I am, it almost doesn't feel real. She paused for a moment, and then said, I have you to thank for that. I wouldn't be here without you, Thea, and I'm forever grateful. Celine embraced me, and I lowered my neck around hers and squeezed tight. We horses must look out for one another, I said tenderly. Did you know that wild horse bonds are based on our love for each other? I said, as we picked up a trot. Our spirit is not only a reflection of the land, but of our mothers and fathers, our siblings and cousins, and even those we've never met. For every one of us is bridged in a bond connected by the stars. Winter had come full tilt. Nighttime temperatures dropped below freezing, and the terrain was now pelted by sleet and snow. As the weeks went by, Thea taught me how to survive on the intricate land that was Mother Nature's roadmap. She created a beacon of light that surrounded us and followed us through the season's hardships. We brought each other humor in times of frustration, comfort in times of worry, and hope in times of despair. The time came when Thea grew too weak to outlast the winter. She was far in her years, and the warmth she embodied burned for one last mission, preparing me for the journey to come. When I think about it, the light Thea gave was a reflection of my own. We each amplified the care we had for each other. The blaze steamed from our hearts, shooting up to the stars. I carry it in me as I lead my own herd and teach in the ways of wild horses. I tell them stories about the wise mare who believed in the everlasting connection we make through love. Now that spring has been born anew, I see Thea and the blossoming flowers, the clear blue streams, and the wispy clouds above. Wherever I go, I know that she is with me in my heart, and that our love can never be blown out. Thank you for using your creativity to help protect wild horses, Jaden. Your story is truly beautiful. I'm Mackenzie Foy, and I stand with wild horses.